Here we go. Monday, November 29th. Ermanni and Edwards, The Bottom Line. Woodward Sports Network. Ryan Ermanni, Braylon freaking Edwards, my friend. Good afternoon to you.
I'm going to just let the hat say, speak for me. You see the hat. You see what the logo is on the hat. You see the insignia. You see the block M. It was a hell of a weekend. It was a hell of a weekend. You see I don't have my voice. We talked about it. This is what we wanted to do for a long time, and I just didn't know that it was going to be such an emotional win for the state of Michigan, especially those that are cheering for, the maize and blue. It's not over. There's a big game on Saturday in Indianapolis against Iowa, the Hawkeyes, Kirk Ferentz and those guys, but just take a second. Man, it was special.
I'm glad you said that, Braylon, because I'm trying to put my finger on it, and Tom, I'll bring you in as well. Trying to put my finger on how come it is so emotional. Like I literally felt an out-of-body experience almost beating Ohio State. And not only beating Ohio State, Braylon, that was an absolute domination of the Buckeyes on Saturday at the Big House.
Yeah, I think, it's because we've been arguing, not you and I, not me and Maz, not Alex and Fish, not, our show. But just the Michigan faithful, the fan base, the alums, the former players, myself included. You've been lobbying for Jim Harbaugh. Then you were lobbying against Jim Harbaugh. You were lobbying for, to get rid of Rich Rod, get rid of Brady Hope, bring this guy in. This guy isn't the fit. This player isn't the fit. They can't win the big game. You can't beat Ohio State. Oh, you can't beat Michigan State now. And so many years, 10 years going, 11 years going. And if you want to date back after the 2011 win, 18, 19, 20 years, it becomes impossible. It's like climbing a mountain. It's just like you want to do it. You lobby for doing it. You talk about how you can do it. But you don't do it year after year after year. Then you have to listen to the Ohio State fan base. Then you have to listen to the other fan bases of the other teams that throw shots. And you have to accept those shots because you deserve those shots. Like Michigan deserved those shots that they received from, the jokes from other fan bases in Ohio State. And then you get the win. And just like if you're an alum, if you're a fan, if you're a child, if you played at the school, if you just went to the school, if you just liked the school, when you got that win, you didn't know what that win was going to do to you and do for you. It was a hell of a win.
It was one of the greatest sporting events I've ever been to in my life. I was at all of them. I was at many of them, and that to me, just being a fan in those stands as the snow was falling, watching this dominant performance, Maz, was something that I'll never forget.
I was home watching this one. I would have loved to have been there. I was with my brother-in-law like we usually are on Thanksgiving weekend. I've been to many of these games as well. And I just felt from the opening kick that it was Michigan's game. It just looked like a completely different team. It was so fun to watch that offensive line block Ohio State into submission. The running. How many third downs in the second half? 2 third downs?
2 third downs, a 3rd and 1 and a 3rd and 2.
McNamara, no incompletions in the second half.
Threw one incomplete pass. It was on a pass interference penalty, so it did not count.
Right.
It was just picture perfect. It was a long time coming. 8 in a row they beat us, 17 of 20. And Ryan Day, he got it in the giggy this time, and Jim Harbaugh called him out on it. It was really cool. He kind of inherited Urban Meyer's team, and everyone kind of anointed him the next Urban Meyer. Jim Harbaugh didn't actually. And remember last year he said, "Hey, you better call out the troops. They better have a mercy rule. We're going to lay 100 on them.
We're going to hang 100 on them.
We're going to hang 100 on them." And they probably would have last year. And that wasn't last year's. I don't even remember what last year's like. This team, on the 25-year anniversary of the 97 team winning the championship, or the 96 team winning it, it's pretty damn satisfying to watch. It was perfect.
You mentioned Jim Harbaugh. Here's what he had to say. This was the comment that I think a lot of us loved, taking a shot, obviously, at Ryan Day. Take a listen.
Done in the past, things that have been said, all that has gone on in this rivalry. How much did that push you guys today in the final game?
Well, it did. I mean, there's Yeah, I mean, I know that probably things you're thinking of are the same as I'm thinking of, but, I mean, let's move on with humble hearts, take the high road. But, yeah, there's definitely stuff that, people said that spurred us on even more. Sure. Sometimes people that are standing on third base think they hit a triple, but they didn't. All right, thanks.
That's a Jim Harbaugh I know.
Yeah.
Talking a little bit of chatter. He was running up and down the sidelines, pumping his fists.
Looked fast.
This was a guy, and we'll get into all of this. I know I feel like we're just kind of plopping everything on the table now, but as we get our emotions in check here, this is a guy that was under fire all year long, and even at 7-1. You were talking about, well, what if they lose to Penn State? What if they lose to Ohio State? What if? Do you get rid of them? And now he's staring a Big Ten championship in the face after having, slayed the dragon and beaten Ohio State. And again, they didn't only beat Ohio State. It was flat out bully ball out there, what they were doing to the Buckeyes. And it's, again, Braylon, this is something I'm so glad I was in the stadium to witness, and I'll never forget it.
Talking about Harbaugh for a second, the thing of Jim, man, you got to take your hat off to him. And I'm not saying, actually, you got to take your hat off to Jim Harbaugh. We have legitimately gone after Jim Harbaugh, rightfully so. He couldn't win the big game because he hasn't won the big game. He hasn't been in Indianapolis because he hadn't been in Indianapolis. He couldn't beat Ohio State because he hadn't beat Ohio State. You look what he did this year, and you got to give credit to Michigan, the Regents, athletic director. They stayed with Jim Harbaugh. They stayed the course. Now they restructured his contract, which, worked for them, but they stayed with Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh stayed with it. In the 7th year of his tenure at the University of Michigan, he decided to change things up. He said, you know what? Maybe what I'm doing isn't working. Maybe I need to take a page out of Brian Kelly's book and what Brian Kelly did down there in Notre Dame. Brady Quinn talked about that early on this season with us. He hired 6 new coaches. He fired coaches that he was friends with. He hired younger coaches. He had coaches with less experience. Ron Bellamy's never coached at the NFL level. At the collegiate level. Yep. He's never coached at the collegiate level. He's played, but never coached. He went and got these young players. He got in tune with his young players. He let them have fun. He opened his doors to the young players. He's allowed them, hey, whenever you guys need me, come in, come talk to me. Hey, whenever you need your defensive coordinators, they'll be there for you. Your offensive coordinators, your coaches in general. They had fun this year. They lost to Michigan State. And once again, here we go. You're writing them off. And then the Penn State game. They lose Michigan State. You have the Penn State game. It's like, here we go again. This is what we were talking about. They win the Penn State game. They stay the course. They get light. They get light. And then they go into a game in which nobody thought they could win, especially after last weekend, and what you saw what Ohio State did to Michigan State, a team that beat Michigan. Regardless of why they beat Michigan, they beat Michigan. And then they got the doors blown off of them. And Ohio State looked like a machine. And everybody's like, there's no way in hell. The only people that believe that they could beat Ohio State were in that locker room. And not only did they beat them. Well, we'll get to that next segment. Because I said 42-37. But for the sake of the story, we're in that locker room. And they get it done. And like you said, not only did they get it done, they beat Ohio State's ass.
Whether it's Jim Harbaugh or Josh Gaddis, Cade McNamara, look, I'll call myself out. I mean, I was one of those guys at the start of the season where I had no idea why Cade McNamara was the quarterback of this team and J.J. McCarthy wasn't. I fully admit that. Josh Gaddis had no idea some of the things that he was calling earlier in the season in games to be as close.
Called a perfect game this time.
A perfect game. If you could call a more perfect game, let me know what that is.
He's the only one on that staff that has experience beating Ohio State. He was the pass game coordinator for Penn State when they beat Ohio State in 2016. So he's the only one that knew what it felt like.
And Braylon, while we're talking about Jim Harbaugh, let's talk about it. I mean, to me, and I'll speak solely for myself, this erases everything for Jim Harbaugh. Totally erases. There's no graphic that you could put up on the screen anymore, to me, the 0-5 against, 1-5 now, or big games, or top 10, or road games, or ranked opponents. All of those graphics, to me, were erased on Saturday.
It's history, right?
It's close to being history. And when the reason why I say that is, yes, it's pretty much there. It's 87% there. But they still got to seal the deal this coming weekend in Indianapolis against Iowa. And the only reason why I say that is because Iowa is nowhere near on Michigan's level. Iowa's not a team that has a chance. If they play the way that they've been playing, Iowa does, and I'm talking about both ball clubs, Iowa doesn't have a chance to beat Michigan. If Michigan, for some reason, were to go out there and lose to Iowa, then that will come back. And that's why I say 80%. They've done it, but they still got to finish it. Now, once they beat Iowa, which they will, then it doesn't matter about the playoffs. It doesn't matter about the national championship. Then he will be vindicated all the way.
Spread's 11 for Saturday.
It's going up a half a point.
It's going up. Like you said, they can't score. Iowa can't score. So what makes you think they're going to score against that defense that just stopped that Ohio State offense? And those three number one first-round pick wide receivers and a pretty good backfield as well. And Travion, was it Henderson?
Travion Henderson,
How is Iowa going to score 10 points? But you know what? It's Kirk Ferentz.
Yeah.
He's like a little thorn. I don't even know how he still has his job, but he's survived over the years. And we talked last week, all these teams like Florida, USC, firing their coaches like they're going to the bathroom.
Florida
basically.
is on their fourth head coach in 8 years.
Michigan held course against all of us, against all the naysayers. They held course. They knew they had the right guy. Eventually, it was going to turn. And how about the weekend for the Harbaugh brothers, right? John and Jim unbeaten this weekend. Mike Tirico gave them a shout-out last night at the end of that Sunday night football game.
It was an ugly win. And it was an ugly win in Baltimore.
They won.
The bottom line, in the NFL, there are no ugly wins.
Guys, there's a big day of college football we're going to hit on here today. We can continue the talk on Harbaugh. Got to talk about Aidan Hutchinson and David Ojabo. Got to talk about Hassan Haskins. Got to talk about the Big House atmosphere. How many times has the Big House been called out for the wine and cheese crowd?
Every year.
Earlier this year, we had a topic regarding how the Big House wasn't as loud as perhaps many other college stadiums were. So a minute to give the Michigan Wolverines fans. That was as electric an atmosphere as I've ever seen. Matt Leinart said it as well. We got a lot more to get to. Michigan beats Ohio State, pounds them 42-27. Ermanni and Edwards.
Woodward Sports Network, the bottom line.
Fellas, football season is here. It's time to make your grooming experience easy like Sunday morning. Get to Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Walk in, relax, watch your favorite team play, and before you know it, your hair will be game ready. Get to Lady Jane's, open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Make sure you download the Woodward Sports app in the App Store and the Google Play Store today. Take Woodward Sports with you wherever you go and listen live on your phone or mobile device.
Hey, everybody, it's Maz for MyBookie.ag, our studio sponsors and the place I bet all of my sports wagers. I hit the over. I hit the over in Michigan on Saturday. Yes, I did. I had Michigan State plus 5.5. That's what the spread went up to by game time. Spartan showed them Penn State who was boss. So we hope you didn't fill up on Turkey Day because MyBookie, the fun is just getting started. This is Cyber Monday at MyBookie, and they're giving you one bet. Get one free promotion on the Monday Night Football game tonight between Seattle and Washington. Cyber Monday, bet against the spread tonight on Monday Night Football. Whatever you wager, up to $100, you'll receive the same value back in a risk-free bet for Week 13's Monday night game. So you buy one tonight, you get one free next Monday. MyBookie, the only sports book where you buy one and get one means you're holding the bag. Don't miss out. Head to MyBookie.ag. Okay, do it up. Set yourself up by doubling your first deposit when you use that promo code Woodward. That's right. Woodward doubles your first deposit all the way up to $1,000. That's promo code Woodward all the way up to $1,000. That's free money. Bet anything, anywhere, anytime with MyBookie. And if you have a gambling problem, please call the Michigan Gambling Hotline, 1-800-270-7117.
Welcome back to The Bottom Line. This is Ermanni and Edwards
Yes,
on the heels of a 42-27 Michigan victory over the Buckeyes in Ann Arbor on Saturday. We talked about the emotion of it. Now we would talk about the how. Braylon, how did they do this?
Yeah, and we talked about it all week. Last week we talked about how or what Michigan needed to do to beat Ohio State. And the big thing that we talked about, the difference was, because everybody wanted to talk about Michigan State beating Michigan, but then Michigan State playing Ohio State and not winning that game. How could Michigan win? I said Michigan had a better defensive line. Michigan had to get to this quarterback, C.J. Stroud, still a young guy. No matter what you saw out of him leading up to the Michigan game, still a freshman, still a young guy, still a guy that hasn't been under duress, hasn't been under pressure, hasn't been under stress, hasn't had to make throws, hasn't been in that environment where you feel the game is on you. And man, did Michigan respond. Aidan Hutchinson, we talk about your biggest players. You say this all the time, Ryan. Your biggest players have to play their biggest games in the rivalries, in the big game. And boy, did he. He had 4 quarterback hits. He had 3 sacks. David Ojabo got to the quarterback as well. And what they did was C.J. Stroud still almost had 400 yards passing. But because they were getting to him so much and so often, it forced him to throw the ball quick. He was throwing a lot of quick throws, a lot of quick stuff. He couldn't sit back in the pocket and drop back and relax and take his time and throw the bomb. When you're a quarterback and you see yourself throwing a 50-yard pass for a touchdown, a 70-yard pass for a touchdown, you get into a rhythm and you know who you are. You're like, oh, this is it. We're going to do it again. This is what we do. When you can't get in that drop back and be that comfortable, man, you start throwing the ball fast. You start looking for the sack. You start getting antsy. Luckily, he didn't throw any interceptions for them. But then also we talked about the secondary guys. You got to press these wide receivers. Make it hard for them. Now, granted, those guys are 3 first-round draft picks. That's what Maz just said, and he's 100% correct. But they dropped some passes. They had some opportunities to make some plays, and they didn't because the Michigan secondary was right in their face. Every time they were looking to make a catch, there was Turner. There was the
Gray had an incredible game.
I got him down right here. There was Gray. There was that secondary. Those were those guys. They were making plays. That's one of the biggest reasons why, and the biggest reason why, is the D-line got to C.J. Stroud often and early. It started off early, and then also that secondary was able to keep him in front. It was like, hey, they played 20-20. Like, just give you an example. They got the interception on K. McNamara in the red zone, right?
Oh, you want to talk about the wind being taken out of my sails. That
drive, to me, that drive set the tone for what Michigan was going to do. They scored a touchdown on the first drive, 75 yards to go down there, 4 minutes, touchdown. They get the turnover. Here we go. We're about to go up 14-0. Interception. You're like, and then Ohio State marches down the field. You're like, oh, here it is. Okay, now this is what people were expecting to see. This is Ohio State. They're settling in, and guess what Michigan's defense does? They let them get down to the red zone, and they hold them on 3rd down. They force them to a field goal. That, to me, set the tone for the game.
It was incredible. And you mentioned Aidan Hutchinson. I believe Pro Football Focus had the stat that they've been tracking quarterback pressures since 2014. They have never had defensive player pressure a quarterback 15 times like Aidan Hutchinson did in that game. 15 quarterback pressures, 3 sacks. Aidan Hutchinson now is 3rd, only behind Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud for the Heisman Trophy. That is according to DraftKings Sportsbook. Bryce Young is 1st, C.J. Stroud, and then Aidan Hutchinson, the 3rd-ranked player for the Heisman Trophy. And if it does go, and look, I don't want to.
Don't do it.
I don't want to say I told you so, and I'm not going to say that. But it is. This season does line up and did line up for that. For Michigan to be in this spot, Aidan Hutchinson was going to have to be their best player.
Yes.
And just go look around the country. If your team is playing big-time college football, if your team is playing for championships, which Michigan is doing now, chances are the best player on that team is going to be up for consideration, not win, but up for consideration of the Heisman Trophy. He is the best player on one of the best teams.
C.J. Stroud all year, when he's dropped back, When C.J. Stroud has dropped back all year from the start of the season until the beginning of the game last week, when he drops back, he's legitimately thinking three things. Where is Chris Olave? Where is Jackson Smith and Jigba? And where is Quincy Wilson? Those are the three things he's thinking when he drops back. On Saturday, the four things he was thinking. Number one, where the hell is Aidan Hutchinson? Then, where's Quincy Wilson? Then, where's Jackson Smith and Jigba? Then, where's David Ojabo? And then fifth, because I said four, I mean five. And then fifth, where's Chris Olave? His first concept, as soon as he dropped back, oh shoot, where's Aidan? Where's Aidan? Where's Aidan? When you're thinking like that, you can't be smooth. You can't be right on the money. You can't take the time to throw the ball deep. You can't put the ball on the button. You can't put it to where they can run after the catch. A lot of those catches that those guys were making, they were having to go to the ground to get the ball.
They were amazing catches.
They were amazing catches with defenders right there on the ground, but that's because Aidan Hutchinson was right in his face the whole entire game on defense.
He saved his best game for this game, named Big Ten Player of the Week, Defensive Player of the Week, Hassan Haskins on the offensive side, Big Ten Player of the Week. Of course,
got three more.
He's got three more potential big ones coming up here, man. It was the perfect game. It was the perfect storm.
We mention Aidan Hutchinson a lot, and rightfully so. But I don't believe you can do that without making very well known how good David Ojabo has been opposite him. And Braylon, that's a guy you were talking about all season long. It is definitely a yin and yang kind of situation over there, because one of the reasons why Aidan Hutchinson is able, and same for Ojabo, is because those guys just meet at the quarterback. We talk about C.J. Stroud. How can Michigan stop this team that this quarterback was 32 of 35 for 6 touchdown passes just 1 week earlier? And the method, the way to stop him was very easy. You got to get to him. You got to get to him. And they got to him. And there you see, now he didn't have any turnovers or anything like that.
Still pretty damn good, by the way.
They did what they had to do.
Exactly.
You know, we talked about, Matt, you asked for a number.
Yeah.
You said, what does Michigan need to hold Ohio State to in order to win the football game? Said 28.
Yeah.
28 points.
Yeah,
and they damn near they did it. 27 points they held them to.
I think Michigan could have scored more.
Yeah,
just like Ohio State could have scored more last week.
Yeah, I think so. I think, with Michigan, it's like they got to the point towards the end where they
didn't have to do anything.
They didn't have to.
Just
They kind of let it just play out.
Yeah.
You talk about David Ojabo and Aidan Hutchinson. If Aidan Hutchinson's the only guy on that defensive line, they don't have this type of success because they can chip him. They can use the tight end to chip him. They can double team him with linemen. Like it makes it a lot harder. But when you got guys coming off both sides, like Aidan Hutchinson just broke Lamar Woodley's record in that game for most sacks in the season.
Wow.
But guess who's second? David Ojabo has 11. Lamar Woodley had 12.
When did he start playing football?
David Ojabo started playing his junior year in high school.
Hell, Donovan Jeter got to the. I mean, like the lines up front, offensive and defensive lines. Where did Michigan go wrong over the last 15 years? Right? I mean, if you want
where were these guys?
If you just want to point to where Michigan went wrong over the past 15 years, just look up front. They were dominated against good teams.
Yeah.
These offensive and defensive lines were bigger, faster, stronger. How did it turn in 1 year? I want to ask you about that offensive line specifically, Braylon. Also, Hassan Haskins. Man, oh man, what do you say about this kid? You want to talk about a memorable moment?
His new nickname is Cinco.
He is the first college player in the history of the game to rush for 5 rushing touchdowns against an Ohio State Buckeye team.
Is he a first-round pick?
Yeah, he might be now, Ermanni and Edwards.
What was Sports Network? The bottom line.
It's that time of the year again. Time for our second annual Stuffer Studio with Woodward Sports. Last year, Metro Detroit came together to help make the largest single toy donation in Mott Children's Hospital history. This year, we make it even bigger. Stuffer Studio is happening December 13th through the 17th at the Woodward Sports Studios in Birmingham. The children in Mott Children's Hospital fight so hard all year. Now it's up to all of us to help bring a smile to their faces. So while you're out holiday shopping, make sure you pick up an extra toy or two and help us spread some love to Metro Detroit this season. We look forward to seeing you December 13th through the 17th as we stuff our studio with Woodward Sports and Meyer.
Woodward Sports Network. Let's go! Ho, 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 ho.
Woodward Sports, let's go. That's right. Also, Lady Janes, let's go. Why not? Don't I look good today? And did you notice the Michigan tie? I hope everybody recognizes
some small M's. They can't see them. They're very small, but I see them.
Very subtle.
Did you get that at Lady Jane's?
No, but I did wear it here, where I got a beautiful hot lather neck shave, also a nice shampoo. Ooh-wee. All you got to do, walk in, sign in, sit down, and before you know it, you are handsome and clean. The process, very simple. Let the ladies treat you like a king. You will do that here at Lady Jane's. Open 7 days a week, 10 to 8. It is wicked awesome. Also wicked awesome, Braylon Edwards was the Michigan offensive line. What do you say about these guys, and how did it seem to turn in just one season? And I don't know how you characterize last year's COVID year, but even if you go back to 2019, Michigan's offensive line, I mean, this was 1997-esque. When you're talking about Hutchinson and Backus and all these,
Mo Williams.
Mo Williams.
Yeah.
Even back David Boss back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, these
with that guy.
These are NFL caliber linemen that Michigan has ridden the entire way to an 11-1 record.
The first thing we got to do is we got to say their names. Like all year, we've been giving them credit, and we've been saying the Michigan O-line, Ryan Hayes, Trevor Keegan, Andrew Vistardis, Zach Zenter, and Andrew Stuber. Say their name. These guys ball. These guys have been balling all year, and they took it to another level on Saturday. They dominated that D-line of the Ohio State Buckeyes. They pushed them back at every turn, whether it was a passing game. Cade McNamara, once again, another game, he didn't get touched. The running game, you see what Hassan Haskins did. You see what Coram did. You see Donovan Edwards got a chance to run the ball. You saw A.J. Henning on the reverse. They ran for over 270 yards on Ohio State yet again because of this offensive line. This offensive line understood the assignment all year, especially in this game. Not only that, what about the play in the end zone where the Ohio State defensive back tears the helmet off of Roman Wilson? Who were the first guys over there?
Michigan.
Who were the first guys over there? Ryan Hayes and Trevor Keegan. They did as much as they could. And shout out to Eric All, tight end Eric All, who's a hell of a blocker as well. He was over there as well. They did as much as they could to form that wall without getting a defense, unsportsmanlike conduct. And if you listen to me, I apologize that my voice sounds like this, but hey, it was a big game on Saturday in case you didn't notice.
And again, Braylon, we talk all year too, whether it was Western Michigan or Northern Illinois or Indiana or any of these other teams. Michigan won't. They better start throwing the ball because there's no way they'll be able to rush for 300 yards a game against teams X, Y, and Z. Well, you know what they did against Ohio State? They ran the ball for 299 yards. If it wasn't for, Cade McNamara taking a knee in victory formation at the end, might have been over 300 yards rushing. That's what they did, and you got to give Josh Gaddis a ton of credit. That was the perfect game that he called as well. Exactly. And again, 2 third downs in the second half, a 3rd and 1 and a 3rd and 2. They were never in jeopardy of losing that game.
Yeah, you talk about giving Josh Gaddis credit. Here's some credit that you give him. First touchdown they scored was A.J. Henning, and we've been talking about all year, where's A.J. Henning? Why haven't they got A.J. Henning the ball? You see the reverse that he had early on in the season against Northern Illinois. You got excited, and then they go away from him. Then every time they bring him in, they run him in motion, they run behind him. You know what's coming. Every team in the Big Ten knew it was coming when you bring him in. But the way they ran that first touchdown play, they had him in tight formation. Fake the run. Fake the run, and then you toss it to him.
A little bit of a Statue of Liberty.
Little bit of a Statue of Liberty. Great freaking play. Here's another thing Josh Gaddis did. Every time you bring Coram in and you bring J.J. McCarthy, it's like, here's the quarterback run, or they're going to run the ball with Coram. You know it's not going to be a pass, right? But here's what you have to do when he's in the game. You have to account for J.J. McCarthy in the running game. If you got Coram in there and you got Cade McNamara in the game, Cade McNamara we know is not running the ball. So when he hands off, does a fake handoff or does an RPO, runs the opposite way, you're not following him. You're keying in on Blake Coram. Well, when he handed the ball off to Coram and then faked and went around, you saw the Ohio State players go with him. He had at least 2-3 guys follow him, and Coram was able to have that success. Shout out to Josh Gaddis for putting that in motion. He's been setting that up all year. We've been talking about it like, where's A.J. Henning? What are they going to do with J.J. McCarthy? Why do they keep putting this guy in the game? Well, that's because they were setting it up slowly but surely. And then what happened? What happened? Who had the best throw of the game?
J.J. McCarthy.
It wasn't C.J. Stroud. It wasn't Cade McNamara, although he's number 2 with the pass that he threw to Cornelius Brown.
Yeah.
That was a heck of a throw, too. That pass that he threw,
Michigan's in a
setting
unique
it up
situation,
all
man.
year. Gaddis. Shout out to Josh Gaddis.
Cade McNamara is an amazing player, and we're going to talk about him. But the throw, since you mentioned the throw, that throw, one pass, 31 yards, couldn't have been more perfect.
Can I compare him to someone? And I think I brought it up to you guys earlier.
I would love for you to
Perfect
do so.
comparison.
Go back to the 97 team and Brian Griese. And the way he just operated that whole season. No one looked at Brian Griese and said, this guy's going to follow in his dad's footsteps, win 2 Super Bowls. No one thought of that. This guy just got the job done. And then he goes, gets drafted, and works his ass off with the Broncos, and I forget what other team he was with.
Always for the Bears, too.
Just
The Bears, yeah.
Just a competitive guy. Cade McNamara has got that in spades. You know what I love this guy? I forgot who they beat. And the sideline reporter got to him. And the kid's crying.
Nebraska and Penn State.
Yeah.
Penn State.
Probably both of those.
Yeah, it was both.
Nebraska and Penn
And
State.
you get to see this guy has so much in him,
Yeah.
so much love for his team. He loves the game of football. I fell in love with that guy. He is an absolute leader. He's a
care
leader
of the football.
He's the perfect quarterback for this team, too. Somebody that's got grit, somebody that just kind of is off almost in the background, letting everybody else get the credit, but he's just in there to do his job and to lift everybody up. Those types of players are so unique, yet so necessary to winning a championship. And I do think that's a perfect example to kind of compare him to Brian Griese.
Smart.
Because
Yeah, that's a really good one.
where there are all of these other stars around, and you could point out any one of 12 guys on that 97 team that went and had really nice, beautiful careers in the National Football League. And here, you'll do the same thing. There's going to be plenty of players that are out there in the forefront, going to have great careers in the National Football League. But here's this guy just kind of, spinning everything and making everything go. Cade McNamara, to me, is the perfect quarterback for this team, and I apologize for anything negative I have ever said about this kid. He has really grown up and really earned everything that he's got.
Does he compare to your guy?
It's okay. I accept your apologies. I told you all year.
Does he compare to your guy that still plays for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Chad Henne?
The last guy to win a Big Ten championship. Does he compare to him?
Slightly different. 'Cause Chad would throw interceptions, but Chad had a rocket launcher. Like, Chad had a rocket launcher, he had a cannon. They had kind of different quarterbacks, so I stick with the Brian Griese. Brian Griese, you hit the nail on the head. But let's talk about this, though, because I know a lot of people out there saying, like, oh, don't act like they completely stopped Ohio State. You're 100% correct. Like, if you look at the stats, you're trying to figure out how Michigan won the game. Like, if you look at the stats minus the touchdowns, you're trying to figure out how did Michigan win this game. Because you look and you see C.J. Stroud damn near had 400 touchdowns. He damn near had 400 touchdowns. He had 392, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Travion Henderson had 74 rushing, 4.4 yards a carry, 1 rushing. He had 56 yards receiving. Obviously, the big three, they ball. Chris Olave, Jackson Smith, and Jigba had the most with 126, I do believe.
That's an awesome catch.
Quincy Wilson. They still got theirs. How did they win? Big plays in big moments, and they showed up. I'll tell you how they played. We talked about the interception, and we talked about how they got all the way down to the red zone, and it looked like Ohio State was going to get back on track, right? What happened? They stopped them. They held them to a field goal. That's huge. You come out. Ohio State gets the ball at the end of the half. To start the half, right? Michigan's up 14-13. Ohio State's up. What happens on the first series? 3 and out. Michigan takes them 3 and out.
Huge.
And then Michigan gets the ball. What do? Score a touchdown. You set the drive. J.J. McCarthy on the pass to Sanister. Look at that, 31 yards. Look at the Coram. Look at Coram's yards per carry. Look at Coram's yards per carry. That's obviously Hassan Haskins in the running game.
He's not 100% either.
Exactly. Then look at Roman Wilson. Look at the play. Cade McNamara did a great job of noticing when they were offsides and going for it. He went for one to the new number one. He went for one to him that almost was a hell of a catch and got us down in the red zone.
Missed it.
Then he goes down again when they jumped offsides. What happens? Gets a pass interference. Gets us all the way down to 11. What happens when you get the Donovan Edwards play where Ohio State gets the unsportsmanlike conduct? Michigan is disciplined. They don't get the unsportsmanlike conduct too, so it offsets. You get that back. Like, they made big plays at big times the whole game. So what? That Cade McNamara only had 159 yards. You add that play right there, it adds another 31. They made the plays at the times you were supposed to make the plays. That's how they won this game.
Couple of unsung heroes in this one, too, I want to get to. We'll do that next. Ermanni and Edwards.
Woodward Sports Network, the bottom line.
Tony is a third-generation logger that has a simple, practical approach to life and work. That's why his Coast DX342 knife is perfect for him. The stainless steel blade is rust-resistant and made for all-weather use. And the double roll-lock safety ensures that it will never inadvertently close when he doesn't want it to. That's why Coast is trusted tough.
Want a career in an industry that is always essential? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about the heating and cooling industry. Visit northwesterntech.edu to find out how you can make $77,000 right out the gate. Yo, $77,000. I don't know about you, Ryan. Doesn't sound like a job to me. Sounds like a career.
For me.
Sounds like a career that you can grow and then grind and grow. Visit northwesterntech.edu.
Michigan. It feels like the best one, you know. It sure does. Yeah, it really does. And maybe, you know, get ready for next week's. Maybe next week's will be the best, but that's why it feels like the beginning. But you know, continue. I mean, we'll continue to do what we do. We'll move on with humble hearts, and you know, greatness doesn't fear consequences. So that's, you know, fearless but not careless. Onward. That's how it feels.
You know what you have to appreciate about Jim Harbaugh is, I think that having the failures that he'd had maybe in the early 6 years of his tenure at Michigan taught him the humble and looking at the bigger picture the whole time. Because imagine if Jim Harbaugh would have got this win in his second year. Imagine if Jim Harbaugh gets this win in his third year, maybe even in his first year. I think it's a much different press conference, and I think it's a much different outlook in terms of what you convey and show your team moving forward, because that's how teams take the next opponent lightly. That's how you get your butt whooped after you have an amazing win like that. But you see how he had the press conference. He could have went after Ryan Day. I mean, they've been whooping our butts, but he still could have went after Ryan Day, made the comment. He said a lot of little snidey things in the week leading up to the Michigan game, but he chose not to. He said, you know what, kept it very, very subtle. And if you're a player watching that, if you're a player watching your coach, somebody that really wanted this win, somebody that when he was a player made a guarantee that they were going to beat Ohio State, and they did. But now you look at him and he said, hey, you know what, we appreciate this win. This is the biggest win that we've had, but you know, you got to keep focused. You got to worry about next week. We got another game coming up against Iowa. If I'm a teammate watching that, I'm like, well, if Jim Harbaugh, a guy that needed this win, my coach is going to act like this, who am I as a first-year player or a second-year player or a third-year player to act like I'm the you-know-what? He conveyed a message to his team that is going to turn into a butt whooping for the Iowa Hawkeyes as well.
I wish I would have seen the handshake. I missed it.
I didn't see it either.
I didn't see it. If anyone has seen it, I might have seen like a tiny picture, or like maybe a picture of it.
I didn't see it.
I know it was a mass of humanity, but I would have loved to have seen if it was Jimmy handshake or not. I just wanted to see what happened there with that handshake. If anyone knows, write it up on the YouTube chat.
I mentioned earlier about some unsung heroes in this one, and I do want to make mention of two guys defensively. You know, we always talk about Hutchinson and Ojabo, but
Rod Moore.
Yeah, he was one of them. But Brad Hawkins and Josh Ross, to me, are two guys that deserve a ton of credit for the defensive effort in this game. Those two guys specifically played their tails off
There was a play where Mayan Williams, because Mayan Williams is, he has some good speed. The running back, he's the second back. He's the second string. Second string running back for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and he comes in to spell Travion, also to change the flow up, because he's a bowling ball. Can run a little bit, but he's a bowling ball. He's the guy that runs downhill and hard. There was a play where Mayan Williams ran the ball downhill, and the lane was there. Like, the lane was there for a little bit. Josh Ross met him in the hole, and I said, man, did that look like Dahani Jones or Ian Gold or one of those former linebackers back. He stuffed him in the hole. I said, Michigan came to play.
Two offensive players that I do want to mention as well. Blake Coram on a bad wheel. I mean, gave perhaps, maybe one of the most important plays, that long run in the third quarter.
That's a touchdown if he's not hurt.
Yeah, if he's not hurt, right? So him, and then, look, Donovan Edwards might be one of the most talented players on the team.
One-hand catch?
He's the unicorn, man.
That one-handed catch was only a 6-yard gain. But it just kind of proves that when he is out there, you better account for him defensively. He is such a weapon, and one of the things that I love about him specifically is it tells me that this coaching staff is all over it. One of the big knocks on the Michigan coaching staff, on Jim Harbaugh specifically, is that you would have all of these great recruiting classes year in, year out, and these guys would never develop. They would come in as something and leave as the same player. Donovan Edwards in this 1 year. Now, I don't know if this is Mike Hart or not, or collectively, but Donovan Edwards.
Don't forget where he came from. He came from West Bloomfield.
Ron Bellamy, absolutely. What he has, where you see those things on social media, how it started, how it finished.
Yeah.
How it started,
how it's going,
and how it's going. Two completely different things. This guy is going to be a major weapon for Michigan.
Don't forget about the catch he had that he was out of bounds on the third down.
Yes.
That was a hell of a catch. And he missed being in bounds by about this much. He could be a guy that, being honest, he could be a guy that may not be a running back next year.
Think about this, guys. As much talent as they have on this team, how much talent was in the stands recruit-wise watching this game that are now on their way here? How many kids at Oklahoma are they going to knock on the door and say, hey,
you got any room?
Come on by. Come on down. I know MSU just signed somebody from Wisconsin. They got the number 15 running back that's transferring over. That transfer portal is going to be working overtime. You're not going to let Mel Tucker own it. You got to own it as well. But those kids that were watching that game, you couldn't have done any better.
I'm glad you brought that up, and I don't want to get into some recruiting craziness for you, but I will tell you this. Does it feel to you, and one of the comments by Jim Harbaugh after the game was that this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning in Ann Arbor.
Totally.
Doesn't this feel, at least a little bit, like the tide is turning back in our favor?
This is what we believed when Harbaugh was signed 7 years ago. We were all bragging. We were. It's here now.
Yeah.
The time is now.
And, we don't, Lions fans, we will get to the Lions. We know they play. We got to get to that, what's going on. And also,
maybe they could sign Jim Harbaugh.
And also, Michigan State, you guys had a hell of a game, so we will get to the game. The snowball against, I actually think that was the best game on Saturday, but we'll get to that. But yes, this is what it's going to be, because what you realize is everything that he did before the season started, and we keep talking about that, the changing the coaching staff, getting some new talent in there, getting younger guys that can connect with these players, being open, all the things that he did to get here, and now it's working. You see, it's all a product of his plan this year. Like, it's all a product. It started back in January, and now to get here, yes, that's something that's going to keep going. It's not like he was the same old Jim Harbaugh and he got a lucky season. Like, he was coaching the same way, the same big egos, guys that are getting paid $2 million and don't know what they're doing. It's not like he got lucky with one of those teams and it's like, well, oh, they're here. They beat Ohio State. No, he revamped the system. He recreated what he wanted to do. He looked around the landscape of college football. What's working for Notre Dame? What's working for Georgia? What's working for Clemson? What's working down in Columbus? And then he added some of that. It's okay to take things from people that are winning, people that are having success. That's how people have success in life, in anything. You look at people that are having success. Why are they having success? And you add some of that to what you do. That's what he did. This is only the beginning.
Who said it here? David on Twitter. Ronnie Bell did announce today he is coming back next
Just
season.
imagine if Ronnie Bell was playing this season.
To an already loaded receiving receiving core. He did announce that. I will tell you, why do kids want to go to Alabama? Why do kids want to go to Ohio State?
They win.
There's two reasons.
Say show of hands.
There's two reasons why. Winning is one. Winning is one, and then winning leads
NFL.
And winning leads to NFL. That's one. That's one and 1B, 1A, 1B. Two is they let them do what they want to do with their brand. They enhance their brand. Everybody has a brand. Ohio State is building up the Chris Olave brand. They're building up the C.J. Stroud brand. Bryce Young at Alabama, they're helping his brand. They're worrying about Instagram and helping them out. That's the two things, winning, NFL, and then the brand. That's what Michigan now has this season.
But Braylon, I will say yes, you're absolutely right about that. But you know how you increase the status of a brand?
No.
You win. And winning is everything. That's why Alabama and Ohio State go 1-2 every year is the best recruiting classes. And I think what those recruits saw on Saturday at the Big House was something that was fun. If you saw the sidelines, and I was there, I was paying attention to the sidelines. DJ Ski was there. Shout out to DJ Ski. That was incredible on the a live
Mr.
DJ.
Brightside, baby.
Yeah, a live DJ on the field during the game.
Hello, youth
was insane. But that sideline was having fun. They were buzzing the entire day, Maz.
Can I say something to your brand?
It was nuts.
There's no bigger brand. Take that hat off. There's no bigger brand than that. No bigger brand in college football than that. All they were waiting for was a winner. Now you got no excuses.
And look, I don't, and one of the things that I said at the beginning of the season, and I tweeted it out. You can laugh at me all you want. I did think there was something about this season of football. Did I know about this team that they would win 10-plus games, that they would beat Ohio State, that they would win a Big Ten championship? Did I know that? Could I have just tweeted that? And if I was wrong, I was wrong. Yes. But this season of college football as a whole signified that this was a year where it was possible. Clemson was down for first-year starter. Ohio State first-year starter. Alabama first-year starter. And if you want to look at the Georgia freaking
Oklahoma
Bulldogs,
had a guy that you didn't trust.
I told you Spencer
They're down
Rattler.
to their third quarterback.
Spencer
almost.
Rattler's transferring.
He is.
He was the Heisman
So is Caleb
favorite.
Williams.
He's in the portal
Caleb
as we
Williams
speak.
is out. There was no dominant team. And for everybody looking at the University of Georgia right now, the Bulldogs is this clear-cut number one team in the country. I'm telling you, hold your horses here. Georgia is a good football team, a really good football team. But if you look at their schedule, they have not beaten a team this year. They have not played a team this year that has less than 4 losses on their schedule.
I'm going to say something, and last time I said this, it got me in trouble. But at least this time, this team doesn't reside in the state, so I don't think this will get back to me. This is what I think about Georgia. I think they have an amazing defense for what they have done statistically wise, the best defense in the NCAA, correct?
Yes.
But they haven't played anybody in the SEC that was worthwhile, all right? Their offense. Name me a player on their offense.
Don't do that to me again.
No, it's rhetorical.
Herschel Walker.
It's rhetorical. It's rhetorical. But name me a person.
Matthew Stafford.
Besides Stetson,
don't do that to
besides
me again.
Stetson Bennett the fourth or whatever
couldn't tell
made
you.
that minute. Like that's what I'm saying.
I don't follow him that
Their
way.
running back. They switched running backs 3 times throughout the season. Their quarterbacks. They switched quarterbacks twice. Like they don't have a world-beating offense. Like, they're not putting up a ton of points. They put up 50 last week, but they don't have a wide receiver that you look to and you think, hey, this is a guy. Whenever Alabama's in that mode, you're like, oh, I can even name you Alabama's wide receivers. One got hurt, Jamal Williams, or Jay Williams, and then two was Jason Michie. I can name you those guys, but you can't name that guy on offense that you can point to. They're beatable.
I do think you have to start thinking about this now, and Jim Harbaugh had said it, you had heard him. He does say onward. Well, you look onward now. How legitimate of a threat to a national title is the Michigan Wolverines?
10-1.
I think they, man, I'm not going to say it, but I think they got a real shot at this thing. I want to take
Especially
your
if they draw Cincinnati.
I want to take your initial impressions of where Michigan stands in terms of what's next. Iowa, Cincinnati, Alabama, Oklahoma State, Notre Dame, whoever it is, they got a shot, kids. Ermanni and Edwards.
Woodward Sports Network, the bottom line.
I'm looking to bring on another HVAC tech right now.
We're recruiting 5 to 10 techs a month.
We're looking to grow and expand. Every new tech we hire is from Northwestern Tech.
The hands-on training is fantastic.
They're always my first call.
We love hiring Northwestern Tech grads.
They come out trained and ready to work.
Our program is only 10.5 months, and our next classes are starting soon. So why wait?
I'm looking to hire
a graduate of Northwestern Tech. Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Monday through Friday for Big D Energy Live on the Woodward Sports Network with Stanley Cup champ Darren McCarty, former Lion Joik Bell, and the silky voice of Neil Rule.
Hey gang, I want to let you know about Guardian Alarm. You know what that black and yellow sign means, don't you? You know what it means?
I know what it means.
Black and yellow.
Stay out. Stay out, everybody. That's what it means. Guardian Alarm, your local security experts for over 90 freaking years. 9 decades of business.
You're doing something right if it's 9 decades in.
Absolutely. Everybody talks about offense, but offense wins games. Defense wins championships. Don't you want to be the championship defender of your home? Don't you want to look at your wife? Yes, I'm going to be the championship defender of the home.
Sleep good.
Guardian Alarm, 24/7 local monitoring. They got convenient features, let you check in on your home, control your lights, your temperatures, detect smoke, carbon monoxide. It's even going to let you lock and unlock your doors. You know the number, gang. You ready for it?
We're ready.
Are you ready? You're ready.
All you got to do is call 1-800-STAY-OUT! That number again, 1-800-STAY-OUT!
Stay out of my house!
Get out of here!
Get out!
Don't even come! Stay out! Yeah. Get out of here. Guardian Alarm, your local security experts. My man, we got it.
Oh, man, we got it. That was official. It's official now.
It's locked in. Good stuff. We appreciate your support here on Woodward Sports Network. Guardian Alarm, baby.
To the man, Jason.
The freak out. Jason, stay out of here.
Jason's got a handshake like he can knock you out.
Does Jason come to St. Clair Shores? Are you guys in the Shores?
Absolutely.
Let's go.
Put that black and yellow in front of your house there. Black and yellow, black and yellow.
I heard you say that, man. I guess good stuff.
Good stuff.
Lil Wiz Khalifa, man.
That was for you, Bray.
I appreciate that.
Who says I'm not hip?
You know what? You're absolutely correct. I digress.
Guys, I do want to ask you, as we look forward here, and there's plenty of time to talk about this, but it is a Michigan Monday. You look at Iowa, and by the way, Jim Harbaugh has has 1.5.
Speaking of black and yellow,
Jim Harbaugh has 1.5 million reasons to beat Iowa. In the contract, the way it was restructured, a Big Ten championship nets him a $1 million bonus.
0.5.
A college football college football playoff berth nets him $500,000 bonus. So if you add that together, that's $1.5 million.
It's a lot of money.
If you win this one game. Do you think he put $750 on Iowa?
I don't think he hedges his bet.
You don't think he hedges?
No.
You don't think you go to the MyBookie studio?
No, he doubles down.
Go to MyBookie and just, I'd like to put $750 on the Iowa Hawkeyes. You don't think he does that?
Oh my God!
Not a chance.
You guys knock it off.
I'm glad you don't bet.
No. Very good. Yeah,
that would be the biggest scam in history of college football.
Very fortunate about it. Here's the college football championship opening lines. Georgia, a 6-point favorite over Alabama. Michigan, an 11-point favorite over over Iowa. Oklahoma State, which is not out of this
I like
yet.
their defense.
-5 against
I love
Baylor.
Mike Gundy. I do.
Oh, man.
I do.
I was watching that game the
used
other
to.
night. He does not show a lot of emotion.
He's
In
cool,
the locker
man.
room, he does.
Yeah.
I like him. I don't know. I like that Cowboy team.
And I'll tell you, just quickly on Mike Gundy, here's a guy.
He's a man.
Well, of course. That thing could have gone south real quick for Mike Gundy. Remember last year, was it 19 or 20?
When he wore the
when
shirt?
He was wearing the
Yes.
OAN America One Network, which many people believe is, and it is. It's
Thank
a
you.
very pro Donald Trump, very conservative network, which is fine if that's what he believes. But you know, you get a
Don't do it, though.
you get a disconnect from your players. In Hubbard, I believe. Had some issues
Chuba
with that.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Chuba Hubbard, the running
yes,
back.
had some
Yep.
issues with that. That thing could have gone south real quickly. I give him and his team a lot of credit for kind of mending fences there and kind of talking it out, understanding each other, and then moving forward on the football field. But Oklahoma State aside, do you got something to say on that? Or no?
No, I was jumping in next. I was excited.
I'm ready to move on to next.
No. About the what you put up there on the board.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what I was going to say is this.
Sorry, I'm so excited, bro.
No, I am too, especially when
great
Jason
weekend,
come
man.
in with the stay out, man. Like we had a live action read from Guardian, man. That was one of a kind. But what I was going to say is it's very interesting. Look at that. Look what the spread was on the Alabama-Georgia game. And this is why I say Michigan could beat Georgia. It's -6.
They absolutely can.
Look at the Alabama team that we've been watching for the past 6-7 weeks. They lose to Texas A&M, who lost this week, who's no longer ranked in the top 25. They struggled against Auburn. Auburn had a backup quarterback. But not only did they have a backup quarterback, they have a backup quarterback on one leg that they should have went. If the running back goes out of bounds, if the running back goes, and I don't want to say
Poor
if.
kid.
I feel terrible for him. If the running back goes out of bounds for Auburn, Alabama loses on Saturday. But they're still only -6 to Georgia. Says a lot about
I like
Georgia.
Bama in that game.
And I still like Georgia based on what I saw about Alabama, but I guess Bryce Young. But that's what I'm saying. Michigan can beat that Georgia team and damn sure can beat that Bama team.
What was more improbable? If you go back to 1997, nobody was talking about Michigan winning a national championship. Nobody would.
They were ranked 6th in the Big Ten going into the season.
Nobody even. No offense to Charles Woodson, we all know him now. But if you go back to 1997, he was a nice player, but nobody expected Charles Woodson to be this great player.
He was a first-round draft pick, but he was nothing near Heisman Trophy, iconic, something that's at the coin toss.
I mean, we were talking about Lloyd Carr being fired in 1997 at the start of that year. If you go back and read the newspaper clippings, and yes, kids, there were newspaper clippings back then.
I remember that.
But yeah, I mean, he took over for Gary Moeller, and it wasn't the greatest of takeovers.
Nobody wanted Lloyd.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that 97 team won a national championship. It was very improbable. They developed and became that. This team, I mean, they're expected to go 7-5, 8-4 at best. I think a national championship is something within reach because, again,
it's harder though.
It's harder, but I will go back to something that I said at the beginning of the year. There is no dominant team in college football. It is wide open. And if you don't make mistakes, if you can run the football, if you can convert on third down, all things that Michigan does well, you put yourself in position to win it. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities at this point in the season. I do think you should allow yourself to think about it. You got 3 games left. One of them should be a definite win. I know that's why you play the game, but you got to beat Iowa. And then you're talking about Cincinnati, Notre Dame, or Oklahoma State, probably.
Yeah.
How far do you think they go up tomorrow night?
2.
You think they're 2?
They have to be 2, and we'll explain that in a second. Well, we can get to that now. I just want to say national championships are won by 2 different type of teams. One team is the team that nobody believes in, but they believe in themselves, and they fight all off season. They fight together, and they come together during the season, and they turn into a national championship team.
That's like a wild card team in the NFL.
Exactly. 97, that's what you saw. You saw a team that believed in each other, and that's all the hell they needed. Mm-hmm. And then you have the other team that's dominant from start to finish. That's been the Bamas, the Georgias, the USCs when they were rolling up the world. Michigan is one of those teams right now, but they're also dominant as well too. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. But how far do they climb up? Now that's the next question.
Yes.
What should the rankings be? Like, do we have enough time to jump into it this segment, or should we commercialize this?
Let's do this. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll get to that, Braylon.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll also talk about something that I think the Detroit Lions should consider heavily, and that is
tease it.
Ermanni and Edwards.
But what's network? The bottom line.
Don't call a timeout.
Hi, I'm David Hall from Hall Financial. With mortgage interest rates unbelievably low, the stakes to find your new home have never been higher. And that's why Hall Financial's exclusive realtor network allows us to connect you with a top-rated realtor in your area, making sure you take on the housing market and win. Hall Financial has earned over 4,000 five-star reviews because of our technology and our commitment to closing your loan fast. 866-CALL-HALL or chat with us online at callhallfirst.com.
Hey, gang, it's Maz for the Folding Warehouse. We're going there tomorrow night. That's right. We're having our holiday get-together, Woodward Sports at the Folding Warehouse in Hamtramck. Our great hosts, Chris and Noni Hutt, will welcome us with open arms. They'll do the same for you because you guys can get out there any way. You can have your corporate party. You can have two ways to play. $10 unlimited open play. They can open up, you show up, and leave when they close. Or you can have a private lane reservation, $120 for 10 people for 2 hours. By the way, what's folding? Well, you throw a football at bowling pins. That's right. Knock them all down and make your friends get to set them up. They got over 100 beers, including the $2 mystery beer machine, and they've got multiple full bars. You bring the food or have it delivered in. They don't care. They just want you to get your fold on. Check them out at foldingwarehouse.com.
I can't wait till tomorrow. Me and Chad are going at it because I read what Chad said in the group text. 4-1 fave. My butt. We'll see tomorrow, Chad. I hope you watch it.
But Braylon, you wanted to get to.
We were talking about the rankings.
Yeah, the rankings tomorrow. How far could this thing go? And yeah, I think many of us believe Michigan's number 2 in the AP. I think Michigan will be number 2 when the rankings come out tomorrow. It'll go Georgia 1. Michigan 2, Alabama 3, Cincinnati 4, in my opinion.
Yeah, to be honest, the AP has it right. This is the first time the AP has had it right all year. I don't think you can't, I don't think you can dismiss what Michigan did to Ohio State. And you can leave it up there so we can talk through. I don't think you can dismiss what Michigan did to Ohio State. And with the way in the fashion in which they won it, the way in which they laid down the smackdown, as they used to say in the WWF, now WWE. So you have Michigan at 2. They beat the number 2 team handily. Georgia's still number 1. They're still undefeated. They're still rolling. You can't take the number 1 spot away from Georgia. You keep them 1. Michigan's 2. Cincinnati, you have to have them 3. They're undefeated. They were 4. I think Alabama has put themselves in a situation being 4. Alabama's put themselves in a bit of a bind. And then Oklahoma State, their defense has played well. Mike Gundy has that team rolling. They beat Oklahoma. They'll beat Baylor. And then Notre Dame's in that spot. So I think that's where you have to have that top 6, and the rest doesn't matter for right now. Maz, what do you think?
Did I hit it right last week?
You did.
Alabama's 3. Since he's 4.
Where does
Even right now? Okay.
Where does Alabama end up? Because I do think they have to win now. I don't think a 2-loss Alabama team gets in anymore.
Not now.
Depending on what Notre Dame and Oklahoma State do.
Well, Notre Dame's done, right?
Okay, yeah, the hell with them. I hope they don't make it on a technicality.
That's another thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, should Notre Dame be allowed to sit home this week?
Notre Dame's technically not done, though. What if Oklahoma State loses to Baylor and then Alabama loses to Georgia and in a blowout fashion?
No. I'm saying Notre Dame is done playing football.
Oh, yeah, they're done. They're done. You're the independent. No conference championship.
Should they be allowed to sit at home? Let Michigan, granted, if Michigan, heaven forbid, loses to Iowa, if Oklahoma State loses to Baylor, should they be allowed? If Cincinnati loses to Houston in their championship, why should Notre Dame get a chance? Now, look,
sitting on the bench.
Full disclosure, I want Notre Dame in because I want to beat Notre Dame's tail.
I'd love to beat them.
Yeah, that would be great.
So selfishly, I want them in. My mind tells me I want them out because there's no way everybody should have to play a 13th game and Notre Dame gets a free shot at the college football playoff.
Yeah, I agree. That would be great to have Notre Dame in there and beat them. You know why? Because then you would have had a chance chance to beat Penn State, Wisconsin, Ohio State, and Notre Dame all in the same year. So that would be great. I think they should make a rule. If you're an independent, obviously Notre Dame is, you got to go undefeated to get into that 4th spot. Like, you got to go into that 4th spot. You can't lose a game and then sit at home and then watch everybody beat themselves up. So I agree with you. I think in order to get that spot, as an independent, you got to be 12-0.
I do think Cincinnati's losing, though. I thought they were going to lose this week to East Carolina.
They're not losing.
I think they're going to lose.
No, they're not.
I think the wave has passed. Like, I think if they were going to lose, I think they would have lost in one of those weird games, like a Tulsa, one or two lane game or something like that. I think Cincinnati will stay up there and they'll win. So now here's the thing. Like, do you agree with if everybody wins next week? Like, is this what we're looking at? Like, if Michigan wins, Georgia wins, Cincinnati wins, and then Oklahoma. Let's say, so obviously if Georgia wins, that means Alabama loses. 5 and 6. What happens there?
Let me ask you this. That's the question. You're trying to tell me, no offense to Oklahoma State, but you're trying to, let's just assume for a second Alabama loses. And I think Alabama is not getting in at 2 losses.
No, they can't. Not after what they showed.
What if they lose at 3 points, 4 points?
Over a Big 12 champ in Notre Dame?
The hell with Notre Dame.
Not me, to a committee.
Yeah, the hell with Notre Dame.
You talk about...
Join a group. I know you're making your money on NBC.
Right. Look,
join a group or pay the price.
I agree with you, Maz, but what I'm telling you is this thing is a business. Do you think they're going to keep Notre Dame and Michigan out of the same place? Can you imagine a national championship game of Notre Dame and Michigan?
Yeah.
They break the records.
Every record known to college football viewing would be broken if Michigan played Notre Dame in a college football playoff final.
Where's the final?
1 versus 2.
I don't know.
It is actually in Indianapolis, same place they're playing this weekend.
It's at Indy.
Good job, Fish. I see you
right,
working
Fish.
hard.
Good job,
championship game
is in
Indianapolis.
Which I hate
at Lucas Oil.
I hate
it.
What bowl game is that?
National championship.
That's
now
the
they do the
national
national
championship
game.
Got
They
it.
don't have it. They don't do it with some
Got
Rose
it.
Bowl or Fiesta.
Yeah.
Now
I
it's
hate that,
the
by
national
the way.
championship.
I believe
game.
they're playing on New Year's Eve, though. So any New Year's Eve party people, you might want to change your plans if Michigan gets in.
No,
What do you mean, no?
National championship game has to be after.
No,
the week after.
talk about the Final Four.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I better tell my family in New Jersey to not make any
Yeah,
reservations.
so if you have any
anywhere.
New Year's Eve plans, you might want to change them.
Well, it's typically around that time. Like
Well, they've changed it. It's been
they've
on
gone
New
like
Year's
back
Day.
and forth. Okay.
They've done like the Saturday
you're right.
before.
The Friday, it is the Capital One Orange Bowl and the Goodyear Cotton Bowl on Friday, December 31st are the 2 college football playoff games.
What are the times?
Time TBD.
Yeah,
Like 6 and 9, probably.
No, it's going to be 4 and 8.
4 and 8. Yeah, time TBD it says, but that is remarkable. But
I've been asking you guys for the last 3 weeks about Notre Dame and Oklahoma State.
Tell me
asking.
Tell me a committee member with those dollar signs like this that are going to put Oklahoma State in above Notre Dame.
Because they're not going to be the one with the dollar signs. It's going to be the powers that be, the puppets pulling the strings.
Yeah.
Like, and if they go in there and blow that, they're going to be in trouble. I agree. You got Notre Dame, you got Michigan, you got Georgia in there, and
I mean, you could have a rematch of. No, you'd have Michigan, Cincinnati probably 2-3, and Georgia, Notre Dame 1-4.
But the good thing about it is it's still the what ifs, because legitimately, like Matt said, Alabama could beat Georgia. So now you have Georgia sitting there at 1 loss. Alabama still only has 1 loss, and they beat Georgia. So now you got those two. Then what if Cincinnati does lose? Now you have to drop Cincinnati out. Now who do you put in?
Notre Dame.
Hey, what if Alabama beats Georgia and everyone else holds serve? Is Michigan number 1?
No.
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Michigan's
number one. I didn't consider that.
Definitely. So 1, and then who would be 4?
Notre Dame.
Oklahoma State or Notre Dame?
Would they? No. If Alabama beats Georgia, would they make Georgia Alabama 2-3 for a rematch in a couple of weeks?
I don't think the SEC would allow that.
Yeah,
and they're the kings.
Paul
They're doing
Feinbaum's
all
not
of
going
this.
for that.
Yeah.
No.
So Georgia would have to go to 4.
Correct.
So then Michigan plays
Alabama
Georgia.
2.
No, Georgia would stay. They'd be 2-3. That's right. Yeah, they have to play each other then.
Exactly.
Keep forgetting. But if Michigan's 1, let's say Cincy loses, Notre
then they're
Dame
gone.
or Oklahoma State moves up, it could be Notre Dame, Michigan, like we said.
1-4.
Could be. Remarkable, man. It is so there's so
crow.
much to think about it, and it's so fun to be in this spot. And we have the Michigan Wolverines to thank for this. I mean, this is something that as a Michigan fan you really didn't consider for a long, long time. Now, I know, Indianapolis has always been the butt of a lot of Michigan jokes, right? Oh, Jimmy, you could take your team to Rome, but can you take them to Indianapolis?
I'm guilty.
All those jokes are now over, right? And it does feel like the tide is turning a little bit for the Michigan Wolverines. And again, Braylon, I do want to take just 2 minutes and mention the crowd on Saturday.
Let's talk about them.
5 false start penalties for Ohio State.
They had the false start clock?
They did.
Yeah.
You couldn't hear yourself think in there. We never sat down, nor did anybody else sit down anywhere around us. Stood the whole game. The yellow pom-poms, the DJ down on the field. That was as an electric an atmosphere. And I forgot what it was. There was an article earlier in the year that we addressed.
Because I went off on that.
Yes,
I think I was
did.
Who was I arguing with? Was it Matt?
You said the shape of the stadium kind of goes out.
It's a bowl. It's a bowl. But I talked about the Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
And I said it was loud as heck, that night game in which they won. It was so funny. I was in the suite. I wasn't out there. It was a little too cold for me, although I took my shirt off, next to the window. But Ryan had us in the suite. My Ryan had us in the suite. And like when
I need to go to the game with your Ryan.
She'll put you in the game.
Awesome.
She'll put you in the game.
That's awesome.
But they played Mr. Brightside, and
full disclosure, I was singing my ass off.
Oh no, you're not the only one. You're not the only one. And it was so funny. And I'm about to give you some context.
You better drink some tea tonight, by the way.
I'm
we
not.
need you for the rest of the week.
Trust me, I'm good. I'm not sick. This is
for your voice only.
No, I'll be good.
That's all.
I'll be good. So to give you some context into how loud it was, is when they started playing Mr. Brightside. In those suites, it's like 3 slotted windows, right? And so we're listening to Mr. Brightside, and I'm like, we're kicking butt, but it just doesn't feel like, man, the atmosphere, I feel it is great, but we've been going up and down, and I realized that the windows were all the way up because some of the wives in the suite were complaining. They were like, it's been too cold, so the windows up. So when halfway through the song, I go down to the main window and I hit the latch and I pull it up. Like the sound exploded into the suite. And I was like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
Like the sound exploded into the suite. And so everybody followed suit. We opened up all 3 windows and it was like,
hey people,
man,
that's what a football game sounds like.
It was everything Matt Leinart said it was and more.
Matt Leinart said that was the greatest college football atmosphere he's ever seen.
A guy with 2 national championships, by the way.
I do want to.
He did play in California, though.
But he's been in 2 national championships.
Two national championships, a Rose Bowl, played at Notre Dame
played
every other
against
year.
Texas and Vince
Young. That was incredible. So we'll talk about that. Also, Aidan Hutchinson has to be the pick for the Detroit Lions. Does he not? I want to ask you guys about that. Ermanni and Edwards. Jim Harbaugh did address that today, actually.
Ooh.
Read you the quote for it. Ermanni and Edwards.
Woodward Sports Network, the bottom line.
Okay, you thirsty little spin goblins. I want you to pedal into the next dimension. Spin it! Spin! Spin! Uh-oh! Carmen's falling behind. Let's give her the hiss of shame. Spin! Spin! Spin till you bleed!
Don't ride the bike of shame. Come to Planet Fitness and find your own lane with tons of equipment, free fitness training, and no hissing. Join today for just $10 a month.
Your Detroit alternative to the normal sports blah, blah, blah. It's Woodward Sports.
Welcome back. We certainly appreciate everybody watching on YouTube right now, watching on Twitter, listening, however you listen to us, anywhere podcasts are found.
We are currently sitting at 950 live viewing for the show. We've never reached 1,000, so We need you guys to get 50 more people to listen to us. Hell, get 75 more.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we really get the over. Trying to get to 1,000. This has been one of our best shows ever, so I'm excited. Let's get to 1,000. Let's get us to 1,000.
Jenna Newman, let's go. Pump them all up.
Mike G. Come on, Mike G.
The way you can listen to us, not to like downplay what we do, but the way people listen to us, they listen to us whenever they want. They watch us whenever they want. So, we'll have, thousands of views on any one particular show, and we certainly appreciate that. But I think as a live viewership that we have now on YouTube, this is certainly our best day, and I think many of us we here have the Michigan Wolverines and you to thank for that. I think a lot of people are excited about Michigan football once again. You talk about the most watched college football game of the year prior to Saturday was the Michigan State game. You talk about the largest ABC college football game of the year was Michigan-Penn State. You talk about the largest college football game then was beaten on Saturday because it nearly doubled what Michigan State did. Yeah. Michigan football is on fire. College football fans have waited for Michigan to be good, and geez, by golly, are they ever good.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's not just about Michigan. Big brands are big business, and they're fun to watch. When Texas is good, people like to watch Texas. I'm not going to lie. When the Texas Longhorns are good, I'm excited. I remember watching Colt McCoy go against Mark Ingram in that national championship game. When Alabama is good, it's good for business. When Florida is good, it's good for business. When USC is good, it's good for business. Hell, when Notre Dame is good, it's good for business. It's just big brands mean big business.
Now, obviously, Aidan Hutchinson, I think, is a player that you've heard his name for many, many months now, and
especially the last
he
two,
showed out against Ohio State. 15 quarterback pressures. That was the most since Pro Football Focus began charting that stat in 2014. 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. I think you have to look at him now seriously as the #1 overall player in the draft. Could he be that transformative player like Joey Bosa was, like Nick Bosa was on their defenses, like Jadeveon Clowney was, like Myles Garrett was, is Myles Garrett.
Definitely, yeah.
And I know everybody's talking about Thibodeau, the defensive end at Oregon. But if there's a player that has done more in big games, remember, Thibodeau did not play at Ohio State in Columbus when Oregon beat Ohio State.
He doesn't stay on the field.
He doesn't. Very injury prone. Is the Lions and Aidan Hutchinson a match made in heaven? Actually, Jim Harbaugh talked about that today.
Those small players that have played here at Michigan and not done what Aidan Hutchinson has done. Just read one where he had 15 pressures on the quarterback. It's never been done. So they've been keeping track of that statistic. He is, and I've said it about Hassan Haskins. I mean, those two players, Hassan Haskins, Aidan Hutchinson, I think they very much should be in consideration for the Heisman Trophy. And I think you'll see it. There's I would also have the same message for NFL scouts and teams that if there's a better player out there that's draft eligible than Aidan Hutchinson, I have not seen that player. And I can tell you what I have seen is every single down he plays, he doesn't take a play off. Quite the opposite. I mean, he's the same way in practice. I mean, and athletically, strength, speed. I mean, you got to check every single box on and off the field. I don't know who will have the first pick in the draft, but they should be studying very thoroughly Aidan Hutchinson.
We know who has the first pick in the draft.
When you have a coach that talks like this, Jim Harbaugh is a guy that's respected by NFL. He's respected by scouts. He's respected because this is not something that he does all the time. He doesn't just throw out his players so they can get drafted. He's had a lot of draft picks since his time at Michigan. Since his tenure, he's had a lot. He doesn't talk like this. He doesn't just go out there and say, hey, I haven't seen anybody better than this guy. Even when Jabril was up for the Heisman. Nah, he didn't say that because it wasn't true. Jabril wasn't the best player in the country. But he didn't talk like that when Jabril was up for the Heisman. He didn't talk like that about Kwity Paye. He didn't talk like that about a lot of guys that have gone on. He's talking like that because it's true. He's talking like that because he's trying to put the message out there that, hey, I believe this to be true. So you have a coach like that does not typically do things like that. This is big. This is major. And not only is he just doing it to pump a guy up, he's doing it because the guy is doing it on the field. The guy is literally going out there and backing what he is saying in that press conference.
No disrespect to Penei Sewell. He's phenomenal.
Micah Parsons.
Can you imagine if they had Micah Parsons and they get to draft Aidan Hutchinson? What that would have done for that defense. And maybe Jeff Okudah comes back and becomes something.
Hey, but look at this too, man. Not to cut you off. Look at the Rams. The Rams may mess around and be 7-9.
Yeah.
So you legitimately may have an Aidan Hutchinson and may turn around and have, pick 12?
I looked at the Rams' schedule today. There's 2 more wins on their schedule that they get just by showing up.
Yeah.
Everything else is a toss-up.
Well, they haven't beaten a team over 500 yet.
Right.
But I say they'll find themselves still going forward.
I doubt it. I doubt it. And it's not. Matthew Stafford is struggling. Yes, he's thrown 3 pick sixes in a row. We know the record. We know that he's on pace to break Matt Schwab's record of 4 games in a row with a pick six.
Matt stumped the Schwab.
Matt Stafford is struggling, and I said it. I said he's eventually going to turn into Matt Stafford, but it's not just him. Losing Robert Woods when they did, because him and Robert Woods and Odell Beckham are 2 different type of receivers, and they didn't bring Odell Beckham in to be the number 2 and replace Robert Woods. They brought Odell Beckham in because he was going to be good at what he does, and you still had what Robert Woods does. They don't have what Robert Woods does, and you can really see it falling apart. Keep in mind, they picked up Von Miller. Yeah. And haven't won a game since they had him.
I don't want to get off Michigan.
Yeah, no, please.
Alex, put up the tweet from Diana Rossini from ESPN on Matthew Stafford and the injuries he went into yesterday's game with on the slide. This guy has been beaten up here in Detroit. We know that. He's been playing with a lot of injuries, and he is hurting right now. And I don't know what else to say. He's not the same guy. I just don't know what's happening. I always said their running game is going to affect them. I don't think Darrell Henderson is the be-all, end-all. Cooper Kupp was taken out of the game yesterday. He still went over 100 yards.
Odell looked hurt, too.
Odell got beat up. He played with a bad back yesterday. But did you see what happened after the game? He went to ask Devontae Adams for his jersey.
Yeah.
And Devontae said, why don't you go ask Cooper Kupp? You want to play with him so bad.
Right.
Go play with him.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
but Stafford's hurting.
Yeah.
I don't want you to crap all over him.
No,
he's hurting.
It's fine. It's understandable. I'd like to get back to Michigan and the Lions if I could, because, you talk about how did Michigan beat Ohio State, right? And how do you beat Ohio State? How do you beat you have a defense that can get to the quarterback? The Lions. For the Lions to be able to do that, and you're talking about, Kayvon Thibodeau, and now I think Aidan Hutchinson
he only has 6 sacks
is in the mix. Only has 6 sacks. He can't stay on the field. And I do think you have to ask yourself, how many times have you heard his name throughout the season in the games?
Right.
Like we all talk about the measurables and the talent and the athleticism and this and that and the other thing. But is he doing it in the game?
Everything I heard was off the field. I heard he was a great chess player. That has nothing to do with the field. I heard that he wanted to go to broadcasting and journalism. I heard he was in the journalism school at Oregon. That's off the field. All those are good things, but what are you doing on the field? And here's the crazy thing, Ryan. What is the Pac-12 known for? What are they known for in terms of offense? When you think of Pac-12, what do you think about? Passing, throwing the ball. What does that mean? A lot of dropbacks. What does that mean? Should be a lot of sacks for a guy that you're saying is going to be number 1. 6 sacks is not cutting it for you to be on the team that was the number 1 team in the Pac-12 and you to be the number 1 defensive end in the league. I mean, the country. You only have 6 sacks. Something smells fishy.
Yeah, so I think the Lions, you're going to get Romeo Okwara back next year. In 2022, if you come to me with Okwara and Hutchinson, you got McNeil on that defensive line, you have something. That's how you get good quickly. You get to the quarterback. You make everybody else around you better. You make the linebackers better. You make the defensive backs better. And that's what Aidan Hutchinson has been able to do for the Michigan defense this year, along with many other guys. But he is without question the shining star.
You know what also he does for you, Maz? Talking about Aidan Hutchinson. Aidan Hutchinson not only is a tremendous pass rusher on that field, he's not also a tremendous guy that also plays the rush as well, because he plays the rush just as well, okay? He's a leader. He's a leader. His big thing is manifest destiny. He's been talking about manifest destiny all year, and guess what? He's manifested. He leads that. He doesn't just get sacks on that defense for Jesus Christ, for Jim Harbaugh. He leads that defense on the field, off the field. The Detroit Lions are what? A young ball club. So he can come in as a young guy and already be in a position to help lead this team. They don't have a leader. The person we hear the most from is Amani Oruwariye, guy from Penn State guy.
Draft pick, though.
No, exactly. No, I like Omani. I told you at the beginning of the year, I like Omani.
Absolutely.
Because I was high on him when he was at Penn State. But this is what Aidan can also do. He can bring you a guy that's not only a pass rusher, not only can help with the run, he's a leader that does things right. That's the other thing about it. You look and you're like, dang, he can lead and play. You know what? Might be a no-brainer.
By the way, Lions coaching staff will, of course, have the Senior Bowl. They will be one of the coaching staffs. Malik Willis has said he will play in the Senior Bowl, and from what I understand, he will be on the Lions side of the field. So they are going to give him a look. I know that was your guy early in the year, Ryan.
Yeah, I liked him until...
Not number one pick, though.
Yeah, no, not number one pick, but I liked him until I saw what he did, in that Ole Miss game.
Ole Miss, yeah.
Really, really ugly. Really, really ugly. Guys, we'll take a break. Come right back. Ermanni and Edwards.
Woodward Sports Network, the bottom line.
Fellas, football season is here. It's time to make your grooming experience easy like Sunday morning. Get to Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Walk in, relax, watch your favorite team play, and before you know it, your hair will be game ready. Get to Lady Jane's, open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
And a miraculous catch. Follow us everywhere. Just search Woodward Sports on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, IG, and more.
Hey guys, I want to let you know about Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac in Dearborn on Michigan Avenue. You want to buy a car? They got the car for you. Don't worry about that chip shortage. They'll be able to get you in whatever you need, and they will do so happily. Also, on their pre-owned lot, any make, any model, they have it for you right away. If you don't want to buy a car, if you think you can get through the next couple of months without a car, you want to sell your car to them, you can make thousands. It's not going to take you a long time either. You'll walk in, you talk about it a little bit, and before you know it, you're walking out with thousands in your hand. That's right. Doesn't matter whether you own that car or lease that car, because Les Stanford Chevrolet is your authorized lease return center. Look them up today online, lesstanford.com, lesstanford.com. You can call them as well, 313-565-6000, 313-565-6000. Les Stanford Chevrolet, find new roads.
I said from the beginning that I thought this was I believe that Michigan State is a destination job. It's not a stepping stone, and we want to bring the national championship to East Lansing. That's the goal, that's the plan, and we want to be in that conversation year in and year out. And obviously, there's a commitment to do that.
And that's Mel Tucker, 10 years, $95 million. The Michigan State Spartans beat Penn State in front of a snow-filled game. The Spartans 10-2 on the year. Got to give them a ton of credit.
How about that coaching matchup? Two of the richer coaches playing against each other. Two of the fattest new contracts going at each other.
10 years, $7.5 million. 10 years, $9.5 million. James Franklin and Mel Tucker.
How about Penn State paying, how about extending James Franklin? Because one of the bigger reasons is they thought he was in line for that USC job. They thought he was in line for USC job. I know they're looking at Lincoln Riley's going there like, Shoot.
Well, they like him, like you said. He's done well for him.
It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
It was a great game. I mean, if we talk about that for 2 seconds, it was a battle of the fourth down conversions. I think it was something like 6 conversions, like fourth down conversions in that game. I saw a bunch of one-hand catches. It was a great game. It was a great game. I got home after the Michigan game. I think I turned that one on right when Penn State missed the field goal. It was 14-17. Michigan State, Penn State missed the field goal. And then it just was a battle from then. Like Sean Clifford. Sean Clifford played like the Sean Clifford that I thought we were going to see all year. He got injured in the Iowa game in the first half and just never really could get back on track. I mean, he flashed a little bit against Michigan, but he still didn't look like the guy. Because keep in mind, Penn State was ranked in the top 10 when the season started. I want to say they were 6. I want to say they were 5 or 6.
They were.
Yeah, exactly. So they were getting back, but hats off to Mel Tucker and what he was able to do to that team. Have that conversation. Told his team after the Ohio State game, said, "Look, we're going to flush that one in the toilet. We're not going to talk about it again. You're better than that. We're better than that. Let's go out here and get it done." And he fought off a team that wanted to win. James Franklin wanted to win so he could prove he deserved his extension. His players wanted to beat Michigan State, a team that has been really good this year. It was a lot on the line, and Mel Tucker and his guys were able to hold off Penn State, get a big win, get their 10th win. It's the first time they've had 10 wins since 2015.
Hey, Vegas was wrong this time.
Yeah.
That spread went from -1 Michigan State to Michigan State getting almost 6 by game time.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know what they saw or what they thought was going to happen.
Snow.
They didn't see the snow. I guess the snow kind of evened things out because MSU was down 6 players.
Yeah, maybe that's what happened.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a great equalizer. I know we got home and turned the game on, and I will tell you, it is not fun to just the viewing. It's not fun to watch that snow. Like when you can't tell what yard line anybody's on.
I love it.
Or you can't tell it. Like I like it for 5 minutes, and then when you're trying to figure out what's happening in the game, I did not enjoy it at all. Actually,
I think the good thing about it, man, is just, like it's funny. I actually like watching. I'm like Maz. I like watching it in the snow because it's something fun. It's like magical. Like it's whatever. It's Christmas time. But I think also in that game for Michigan State, it was good to see the defensive players step up. And their defense started to make some plays. You got Breeze out there made some plays. Beasley made some plays. Beasley made plays. Halliday turned into the guy that I talked about being scared about when they played Michigan. Like you saw what he did against Michigan. He was in there, old school type of linebacker. It was fun to watch. Panishuk got in there, had a half a sack. So it was fun to watch their defense step up. I think they had 4.5 sacks. They had an interception. They just turned the ball over. They got 3 fumble recoveries. They played well on defense, and then also on offense. Kenneth Walker III still trying to have a last-ditch effort run to win the Heisman, and he played well for 3.5 quarters.
Look, this is – I think if you're a football fan in the state of Michigan, this is exactly the kind of way you hoped it to be. I do think for the first time in a long time, you can seriously have an elongated period now of Michigan and Michigan State being good simultaneously together. And I do think for as much grief isn't the right word.
Chop busting.
For as much chop busting as I have given Michigan State and Mel Tucker and those guys on defense, hats off to them. To win 10 games in this particular year, to beat Michigan, to come back after being embarrassed on national television to Ohio State, and to get that win to finish out the season, 10 wins now. Kudos to Mel Tucker and the Michigan State Spartans. This thing now, we'll see where it goes. Because I don't think you can just dip into the transfer portal each and every year to find a Kenneth Walker. I think you build a team through the draft. Isn't that what you say in the NFL? And
True.
Then in free agency,
but they're back up.
In free agency, that's how you fill out your roster. I think Mel Tucker will build his team through recruiting, and you fill out your team in the transfer portal. He had to do things a little bit different. Obviously, without Kenneth Walker, who knows where the season would be, but he got him, and we'll see where this thing goes. But you could have an elongated period of Michigan State being good together.
I thought their backup running back Simmons was pretty good early in the year, but he's now the third string. Their second string running back actually is a transfer from Auburn. He got transfer running back from Auburn. Alex, help me out with the name.
Pointer.
There you go. You got from Auburn. Now they got a transfer coming from Wisconsin.
Jalen Berger.
We talked about that earlier. Yeah,
Yep.
Berger. There you go.
Yep.
And we talked about Wisconsin, the number 15 guy. He's coming over as well. So Mel Tucker still got some tricks up his sleeve.
One thing I'd like to see Michigan do, and I'll start with me as a Michigan fan and long-time observer of the team.
Oh, excuse us.
And I feel like we did it with Ohio State this year and not Michigan State, but I hope we do it next year, and I'm going to try to be better to do it next year. This year, Michigan fans and the Michigan football team and the program and everybody in it gave Ohio State the proper credit. They talked about them, talked about what the rivalry meant. This was not just another game. They kind of set the tone for the fan base, talking about how important this was. You'll remember Justin Fields last year talking about how he said, we take this rivalry more seriously than Michigan does. And I think for a long time, Michigan State has taken the rivalry more serious than Michigan has.
Not a doubt about it.
And I hope in the future now, with both teams maybe on equal footing, Michigan, and I'll start with myself next year, can give Michigan State the proper credit and put them on the same level, whether they are tangibly or not. They of course are, but in our own minds, Michigan State is always a little bit down here, no matter how many years they beat us, right? We always keep Michigan State on the back burner. But hopefully we can give them the proper credit and take that rivalry every bit as serious as the Ohio State rivalry.
I agree. And that's one thing talking about Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh is a former player former player for Michigan. When you play at Michigan, you're taught that Ohio State is the game. And Michigan State is like, oh, it's just Michigan State is upstate, and that gets ingrained in your mind as a player. And even though he came back as a coach, it's still ingrained in his mind. I mean, that's why I was a little upset how he handled Ohio State, early on in his tenure. But that was the same with me. Like when I wanted to go to Michigan, going to Michigan, the first thing that I wanted to do going to Michigan, like I wanted to go, like the first thing I wanted to beat Ohio State. Like I've been wanting to beat Ohio State since I was 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've been wanting to beat Ohio State, and then the next thing is wear number 1. And then win the Big Ten championship. Like those were the things that I thought about, the things that I wanted to do. That's what Justin Fields talking about. They're taking it serious. I took it serious. When I got there, you didn't have to tell me to want to play Ohio State. You didn't have to tell me that this is the game. You didn't have to get me up to play Ohio State. You had to get me up to play Michigan State because I looked at it a different way. And then that mindset became Michigan's mindset. And Mark D'Antonio, he said, you know what? If this is your guys' mindset, little brother this, we got something for you about this little brother stuff. And they start beating our ass like consistently. And that's what you got to do. I agree with you 1,000%. Michigan has to take Michigan. They have to give Michigan State the credit that they deserve. So now you go into that and you look at it like an Ohio State game, you might play better. You might not do this. You might not be so lax. You might not fumble. You might not drop a pass. If you take them serious like you play Ohio State. Good observation by you over there, big guy.
Our boy Al May was at the game. We got to ask him about that snow game. And I want to know who you think MSU is going to be hooked up with here on a New Year's Day game.
Ole Miss, baby.
Great. And then I'm going to respond to you, Braylon, and tell you why we think like that about Michigan State and why we thought like that about Ohio State. I'll give you those numbers next. Ermanni and Edwards.
Woodward Sports Network, the bottom line.
Tony is a third-generation logger that has a simple, practical approach to life and work. That's why his Coast DX342 knife is perfect for him. The stainless steel blade is rust-resistant and made for all-weather use. And the double roll-lock safety ensures that it will never inadvertently close when he doesn't want it to. That's why Coast is trusted tough.
Your Detroit alternative to the normal sports blah, blah, blah. It's Woodward Sports.
Hey, you know what I did this weekend?
What did you do, Braylon?
Actually, you know what I did on Thursday? Had family over for Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Ooh,
Thanksgiving.
Had family over for Thanksgiving. Had a good time. I bought a bottle of Gypsy vodka that was given to me by Joey Radio, and I cracked it open at the house. I drank responsibly. Cracked it open at the house. I told everybody the same thing that I've been telling you guys out there. I told them that it was gluten-free. I told them that 50 taste tests, 50 different formulas came into play when figuring out what's going to be the one. What are we going with? What's going to be the one? I also told them that it was corn distilled 6 times.
How many times?
6.
Are you kidding
Corn
me?
distilled 6 times.
Holy
I also
crap.
told them that it was infused with artisanal spring water.
Get
I
outta
told
here.
my family this. We cracked the bottle open. We poured it as a shot first just to see what it tasted like by itself.
Got to take a quick.
So smooth.
Oof.
So smooth. This is no BS. I'm not trying to sell you something. This is no BS. It was so smooth. So I mixed it with a little bit of grapefruit juice. Tried something different, mixed it with a little grapefruit juice. I had a couple of these things, and when I was playing spades, I noticed that the great taste kicked in. Man, that thing was so good, and everybody in my house, my whole family, enjoyed the Gypsy Vodka. So this is actually coming to you. They don't pay me to say this. This is the truth. That stuff was good, and me and my family enjoyed it on Thanksgiving. So for me and my family to yours, go to the store, pick up some Gypsy Vodka. Adam and Mike, they got the formula right. I know that rhyme. That's what I do. It was amazing. I'm trying to tell you. But if you're going to drink, remember, drink responsibly.
Always. You know, before we get back into the Michigan State, just a big picture look at, you know, how we think, why we think, how we think, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
And then I'll tell you how I thought, always.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think your youth shapes you in how you decide to be a fan.
Right.
You know, when growing up for me, Michigan was in the middle of from 1970 to 2007, okay? They were in the middle my whole childhood and into my adolescence and even in my college and adulthood. Michigan had beaten Michigan State 30 of 38 times. So you don't fully respect.
Based on those stats, you don't have to.
Right, exactly. So that kind of shapes how you are. No matter if Michigan State turns the tide like they did, you still
are waiting for the tide to turn back.
You're waiting for the time to turn back, and you're still that 30 of 38 is ingrained in your mind. This Michigan-Ohio State situation is somewhat similar from 85 to 03, which is kind of right in my wheelhouse of being a kid, adolescence, into college. Michigan had won 13 of 18 games. You know, they've beaten Ohio State, so it was almost second nature to beat Ohio State. That's just what Michigan did. So this 18 of 20 turning on its head, you can't even wrap your head around that, right? I mean, it has kind of shaped who you are as a fan. So I just wanted to put those numbers out there. You know, you wonder why we're so
ingrained in our thinking, our thought process.
Those two numbers kind of was what I grew up with, so that's what I know.
Hey, I grew up watching Michigan, as I told you, in Jersey, and they were my team. Always hated Ohio State just because they hated Ohio State.
Yeah.
But when I came here and I saw the hatred that the MSU and the Michigan people had for each other, I was like, I don't get it. But then the more I was here, I was like, man, by the time it was all said and done, I truly wanted to beat Michigan State more than I wanted to beat Ohio State, just because of the people I know
the fans
that were rooting for Michigan State. Until my daughter, Lily, enrolled there in September, I was still angry.
Hey, Lily.
But my hatred has kind of melted away because of it. As you can see, I've never owned a piece of Michigan State clothing until this year.
Well, when your money's going there.
No, but that's not even it. You know, it's for her. It's for my kid. And now I'm back to just hating on Ohio State.
Right.
But to be perfectly honest, but I wanted to beat Michigan State more than beating Ohio State.
But the interesting thing is, I would think you understand it more, because I never understood why Giants fans hated Jets fans and Jets fans hated Giants fans.
I don't,
because it's very simple. But most do.
Yeah.
I'm when I got there, Jets and Giants. Obviously, Jets hate the Giants because Giants treat them like the little brother.
Giants are number one.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and it's they treat them like little brother. And when I got there, I just never understood. I'm like, you guys are in different conferences. You guys can both play in the Super Bowl at the same time. It's not it's one or the other. You can cheer for both, but they're like, no, it's Jets or it's Giants.
The biggest insult to Jet fans are when the Jets finally left Shea Stadium and went and moved into Giant Stadium.
Oh, man.
I mean, to share a stadium with the Giants is like the biggest disrespect. I still, to this day, don't understand how the Jets are playing at the Giant Stadium, at MetLife Stadium.
My first year.
They should be in New York.
My first year with the Jets was the last year was the last year at
Giant Stadium.
Stadium,
Yep.
and then obviously MetLife was my
Yep.
second year. But at my last year, and it was like you could feel the disrespect. Like
It
look
is.
at the locker, and that's why Woody Johnson put so much money into the
Yes.
locker room at MetLife. But because basically it's two different locker rooms, Ryan, at MetLife. There's a real Jet locker room, and then there's a real Giant locker room, and then there's an away locker room for whoever's
Yes.
playing who, right? Woody put so much more money into our locker room than the Giants because of all the disrespect the Jets had gone through at Giant Stadium.
Really?
Back in the day,
at the Meadowland, excuse me,
Giant
the
Stadium
Meadowland.
was blue.
Yeah.
The Jets
The Meadow-
had to
the Meadowland,
the
right?
Meadowlands.
Yeah,
The Jets had to go in and put green plastic
Awnings
all
and
the way
play.
around the stadium to make it look like their home game. That's how. I never understood how they went and played there, but no, I digress.
I do too. I digress. Back to our regular schedule programming.
Well, now that I'm totally lost as to what we were talking about, but
I hated Michigan State more than Ohio State. That's where it all came from.
I
Not
think-
anymore, though.
I think I hated Michigan State more than Ohio State too over the years because we lived it. You have to live with Michigan State fans the entire year. Ohio State fans, you don't have to live with.
That's true.
You play the game, you have to hear the chatter the week of and the week after, and then you're done till next year. Michigan State, man, that's in your face all year long.
Yeah.
And the butt of jokes and the Indianapolis. Oh, and look at Alex over here, Alex Mayer, holding up the old Paul Bunyan trophy. And that's
You can
great.
have a trophy. I'll take the Big Ten championship. Baby.
But that's just it. And I'm glad you said that because I was going to go there next. One of the reasons why Ohio State always mattered more to Michigan than Michigan State to me was because you were always playing for a championship. Now, would I have loved to beat Michigan State this year? Absolutely. But I don't even care about that anymore because it's like
now we don't.
Now
we were pissed as hell until yesterday or to Saturday.
But even that to me is just another game on the schedule that you lost and doesn't mean anything, right? I mean, it doesn't mean anything right now because of where you're headed. You get to play for a championship. Championships are the great elixir, right? I mean, championships are why you play sports, to win championships. Michigan has an opportunity to do that. And yes, that blip on the schedule, that blip on the record will kind of eke away at you a little bit. But if you're hoisting that national championship trophy at the end of the year, my goodness, who cares if you lost one November Saturday?
The funny thing,
that's pretty darn good.
The funny thing is, I still care. You know why? Because this is what's going to happen. If Michigan has the opportunity to win the Big Ten championship, get into the playoff, win that game, and then win the national championship, you're legitimately going to be at Walmart some random February, grabbing some stuff. It's going to be some Michigan State guys in there, and they're going to be like, we still beat you, and it's going to piss you the hell off. Like, you're going to be like, we won the national championship, so we beat you. And it is going to piss you off because they're absolutely correct.
So many people this week were like, well, how did Michigan State beat Michigan?
Get blown out by Ohio
get
State.
blown out
And
by
then
Ohio
Michigan
State, and
beat
then
up
Michigan
on
won.
Ohio State.
And I think I
Matchups. Yes. I got a great analogy for that. I've been thinking about that. You ready for this? It's matchups. It's like boxing. Okay? Joe Frazier fought Muhammad Ali, right? Who won that fight? Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier goes and fights George Foreman. George Foreman knocks the brakes.
Down goes Frazier.
He knocks the brakes off Joe Frazier. Then Muhammad Ali goes and fights George Foreman. Guess who wins that fight? George Foreman. It's all the infamous rope-a-dope. It's all about matchups. And Michigan matched up better because of the defensive line, which I don't know, somebody said it. The defensive line, they matched up better, and they would give themselves a better chance. Go ahead. It's on
Not
you.
only that, they played the game I said Michigan State should have played against Ohio State, but they couldn't. They kept the
got
ball
behind early.
and they ran it down their throats.
Yep.
Oh, Michigan State not built that way. Michigan is.
Michigan State's a much better team than what they did against Ohio
Absolutely.
State. They got behind early, and once
I
they
don't
got
know what the hell
behind,
happened.
once C.J. Stroud saw that first 75-yard touchdown, it was over.
Game on.
Yeah.
Bottom line videos of the day is at that time already.
Man.
My goodness. Ermanni and Edwards.
Woodward Sports Network, the bottom line.
Hi, I'm David Hall from Hall Financial. Choosing between a 15 or 30-year mortgage can be difficult, which is why we offer the Modern Mortgage, a flexible term that's customized for you. 866-CALL-HALL or chat with us online at callhallfirst.com.
Make sure you download the Woodward Sports app in the App Store and the Google Play Store today. Take Woodward Sports with you wherever you go and listen live on your phone or mobile device.
Thank you once again to our YouTube audience, our highest, most viewed live viewership today. We got over 925 was one of the peaks that I saw today.
Pretty good.
And again, people, the way we're doing this format, this podcast format, people watch when they want to watch, right? And you'll get thousands of views on any particular show, but the actual from 2 to 4 viewing experience, which is live when we're live, very highly viewed show today, and we certainly appreciate all of your efforts, however you're watching us, YouTube, Twitter.
All our shows today were well received.
All our shows.
Thank you.
Big D Energy,
Spread the
Morning
word,
Wood.
please.
Yes, please. If you liked what you saw today, please tell a friend. Let them know how you watch Woodward Sports Network or listen to us anywhere podcasts
I'm
are
at the
found.
Thanksgiving Day game. I'm sitting there with my brother-in-law, chilling out. I had like 4 seats next
Jersey
to me
Mike?
open. Jersey Mike was right
There
in
you
front
go.
of me. I had some buffer seats next to me. And a couple of kids, I'd say they're 20 years old, 21 years old. 2 or 3 of them, brothers, they were all dressed alike. They had a great time at the game. They're looking at me. And the one guy's like, hey, how do I know you? How do I know? I'm like, well, I don't know. Are you from St. Clair Shores? He's like, no.
Do you
from
bowl?
Farmington. Do you bowl? He's like, no. He's like, you're Woodward Sports. You're Maz, aren't you? Woodward
Really?
Sports.
Get
I'm
out
like,
of here.
And then his father's like, Woodward Sports. They all start turning around. About 6 or 8 of them. Young men and their dads.
That's great.
And uncle. All Woodward Sports people at Ford Field. Showing up.
That's
man.
gonna be a hell of a
Clap it
feeling.
Shout
up,
out.
clap it up, clap it up.
That's
for
gotta be a
them,
hell of a
clap it up
feeling.
for them.
Isn't that cool?
That's got to be a hell of a feeling.
I forgot where I was a couple of weeks ago, but for the first time, somebody recognized me from Woodward Sports and not the television.
That's cool.
That's the first time that had ever happened.
Braylon, he's just Braylon.
Braylon's
He's just
friggin'.
Braylon. Did you see him on Thanksgiving Day?
Oh my God! Did you see that? So
How many people were lining up to hang with him?
So we had a break. We had a pre-recorded 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So the people to the right of us, where the table was, one of the guys was like, I was standing on one of the guys was like, who's that guy? I was like, Braylon Edwards. Like,
His mouth gap.
Braylon Edwards. Yeah, from Michigan. Michigan's Braylon Edwards, and he went nuts, man. He's like, oh my God. I'm like, is he cool? And I was like, yeah, he's
Meanwhile,
very cool.
he's been with 8 different people taking
he's
pictures
very
and
cool.
selfies.
And so they came back. You took a picture with him. You're very gracious out there, man. I will tell you this, and I'm not just saying this. Between Braylon Edwards and Darren McCarty.
Oh, man.
Those 2 guys are some of the most fan-friendly people. It's not hard to figure out why they're fan favorites.
Yep. It's not hard to find out why they're on that backboard that Alex has up most of our day, our Legends board for Detroit sports.
Bottom line videos
everybody.
of the day.
Let's start it off. Let's keep it in college, I'll tell you, I watched the Alabama game at the end of that game. After the Michigan State game, I tuned into Alabama and how they won that game. First of all, tomorrow, can we bring it up with Stan? Can we abolish the overtime in college football?
Yeah,
it's horrible.
Awful now. Yep, bad.
It's horrible.
Bad.
All right, I'm putting it on the sheet for tomorrow.
Bad.
I know how to fix it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you tomorrow.
2 things I hate. I hate that, and I hate the fair catch on kickoff return.
Me too.
Yep.
If you're fair catching at the 10-yard line, that's where you get the ball.
That's right.
That's why I was
exactly
I was so happy that happened in the one game. Was it? I think it was Auburn, Alabama. It happened.
I missed it.
It was like a fair
Well,
catch.
it also-
it
happened
was Michigan
to
Ohio
Michigan.
State.
Yeah, it also happened in that
He
game.
dropped it and fumbled it, and they thought that he was going to get out to 25, and they kept him at the 4.
10.
Yeah.
So going back to our video, Nick Saban, and we said it early all year. Be careful of Nick Saban. He looks very comfortable in his own skin.
He looks
this
happy,
year.
man.
He looks happy. This is him after the
I saw
Alabama-Auburn
that.
game. This guy, he makes me laugh, this guy.
Coach, we talked at halftime about how challenging this game was going for you guys. But in the end, how much pride do you have in the execution you just saw from your team?
I can't tell you. I can't put it into words.
I mean, for the guys that keep fighting like they did and to have the 90-some yard drive to tie the game up, to get it in overtime. But I tell you what, the players, I'm so proud of the way they competed in the game and fought. We said that's what we wanted to do at halftime, and I couldn't be prouder of them. I mean, it was unbelievable.
You addressed your team several times during some very emotional moments during the game. What were you saying to them in those moments?
Well, I was really just trying to get our guys to just focus on executing. You know, I think they were a little bit out of sorts, and I could kind of see it in their eyes. So I just wanted them to go play. I told them to have fun at halftime. I said, just go.
It's like he's doing an Aflac commercial.
Yeah, very dangerous when Nick Saban's smiling.
Careful.
Become fun for you.
When we caught the ball.
I'll let you go celebrate, Coach. Congratulations.
Look at this.
Describe what's happening.
Isn't that something?
Nick Saban's trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't want to play them, to be honest with you. As a Michigan fan, I don't want to play them.
I don't care who you play, actually. I think you go through them. I'm not scared of anybody. I'm not. I'm feeling good. My chest is out. I ain't scared of anybody anymore.
We ain't scared. What are you, Jim Schwartz?
Yeah, we ain't scared.
We ain't scared.
I think the thing with Nick Saban is, I think it's twofold. Like, one, I think guys get this happy when they realize they're at the end of their career and they're trying to take it all in. They're trying to soak it all in. Like, he knows that, like, you know, we talk about he can coach forever. Nick Saban understands he may not coach past next season, so he wants to have more fun and soak it all in. Two, how could you not have fun when you're making a commercial a day with Deion Sanders?
Yep.
Right.
Shout out to Deion
Coach
Sanders.
Prime.
Coach Prime, SWAC Coach of the Year, and Freshman of the Year was his son at quarterback. Shout out to Deion Sanders and his son, Junior.
How has Florida State not signed him yet?
I don't think he wanted to go to Florida State. I think he wants to build up the HBCUs. Like, I think that
Wow.
you see Eddie George is at HBCU.
Yeah.
Prime is at HBCU. I think that's the plan for some of these former players, to try to build up the HBCUs and
God
bring them
bless
back.
Did you see Des Bryant on the sideline, by the way, for
Yeah,
Oklahoma State?
I love Des.
Man, he put that.
Is he a good guy?
Des,
Yeah, that's
great,
great to hear.
great
I
guy,
love
great
Des
guy.
I still
Bryant.
don't forgive him for running on the field against the Lions. That should have been a penalty.
No, that's
20.
fine.
I don't want to bring
What
that
else?
up.
One more, Maz.
No, two more.
Two more.
Okay, I was going to talk about Devontae Adams yesterday. He goes out of bounds. Packers beating the Rams. First of all, I love the Packers, as you know that. Sorry, but I do. Check out what Devontae Adams does hitting the sideline. Okay, we can talk. Let's keep talking here.
Okay.
Here
yep,
he goes. Look, he
Devontae
knocked his
Adams
coach
is
down. It's going to pick him up.
Puts
There
his
we
hat
go.
on.
Puts his hat back on. Make sure he's okay. And he heads back out onto
That's
the
funny.
field. Devontae
Love
Adams.
it.
Did you ever do that? Did you ever do that, Bray? Did you ever knock down one of your coaches?
In practice.
And pick him up?
Yeah, I picked him up. I knocked him spring game.
Okay.
I knocked over.
But not in real. Not on national TV?
No. They moved out the way.
Oh,
And
right.
by the
That's
way,
cool.
They let me fall. It's terrible, guys.
Just a full disclosure, if you watch on the YouTube and you're like, shut up so I can hear what's happening on the field, we have to talk over the video.
Over NFL stuff.
Over NFL
Copyright.
stuff.
Yeah.
For copyright so we don't get pulled down off YouTube.
We don't have to do it for this, though.
No.
Steph Curry, I love you.
18-2.
Sick.
He had 45 against the Clippers in Game 2 and beat them almost single-handedly. He's trying to do the same with 31. He's gone psycho. Psycho Steph is a killer.
This is after
give
they called
Steph
a technical foul.
Yeah.
Look at him.
He did.
Put it back up.
He did like tech this.
Dude, Matt, look at him talking to the crowd. He's already
I love this guy.
Hey, man.
I love
Look,
this.
I was one of those guys that counted the Warriors out.
Nah.
No way.
Me and Matt's been on it all year. I just love that. I love when quiet,
stand
shy,
up.
humble individuals start to embrace the killer that they are. Like, you appreciate them being humble, you appreciate them being shy, and you get in, you're like, oh man, he's such a good, humble guy, whatever. When they start to embrace the killer that they are, you really appreciate it more because you're like, I know this guy is really humble, but at the same time, I know this guy is really a killer. I'm glad that he has that ability.
18-2.
18-2.
And they don't even have Klay Thompson yet.
Wow.
Nope.
Wait till they get
Christmas,
him.
baby.
You got one more? That's it.
Tomorrow I'll use it.
Hey, guys, we got to get out of here. Thanks, everybody. Braylon, get us out of here.
Oh, Michigan, you finally did it. You beat Ohio State. Jim Harbaugh, you got the monkey off your back. We appreciate it. We as fans, former players, guys that watch the game. Hell, even Ohio State fans were excited that Michigan won. Because who wants to keep steamrolling the team for over and over and over? They're happy we got the win because they see that we're happy. Now it's a rivalry once again. So good for you. But guess what? It's not over. Got a lot of work to do. You got Iowa on Saturday at 8 o'clock. That's what we're going for. Tomorrow, check this out. We'll talk about the Lions. We'll get into the Lions tomorrow, man. But
we got Stan in the house.
We got Big Stan in the house. He'll talk about his experience. He was at the game, of course. Ryan got him sweet tickets as well. So shout out to Ryan once again getting Stan
Can you
tickets.
give me Ryan's number?
I will. I'll give
right.
you your number. I'll give you a number. But I'm done. You hear my voice, it's Horace. I got tomorrow. I'm Edwards. He's Ermanni. It's a hell of a show. Maz, Fish, Alex. Love you guys.
Hail.
Clap it up.
It's the bottom line.
Clap it up.
That's the bottom line right there. That's how we're ending the show. That's the bottom line.
This is the best moment of my life. I manifested it. I'm here with my family, with my teammates on this glorious day that we just beat Ohio State.